The
It
universe
does.
and God are like, they're set up to support us in every microsecond of our existence.
Absolutely. Even in the most challenging situations,
Mhm.
it's to get us to the other side. And I've learned like the greater the challenge, the greater the joy on the other side.
Hello there, prosperity seeker, and welcome to another episode of the Prosperity Approach. Let me tell you just a little bit about Grace. Grace is an entrepreneur who has owned and managed one of the most successful staffing firms in the Bay Area for over 20 years. She's also a success and transformation coach, and she is the author of the best-selling book called Can I Live? Dare to Go from Effed Up to Fabulous. Grace works with ambitious, heart-centered women to help them elevate their confidence, optimize their talents, achieve their goals, and increase their prosperity mindset. As a result, they create the fabulous life they've been dreaming of and inspire other women to do the same. So you're like my sister. You're my soul sister, Grace.
Girl,
Thanks
that's
for
why I love connecting with you. I love connecting with you. I love being in your energy because you are fabulous and your energy is just so warm and loving and kind.
Oh.
So I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I was on your podcast, Real Talk with
Yes,
Grace. You
yes.
guys should all check her out as well. She's amazing. And we had
Thank
such a
you.
wonderful time. I was like, you know what, Grace, I want to share you with my
Thank
audience. And
you.
so I am so excited to have this conversation with you. So, oh, and you know what? Even forgot to say, except I did just say, you're the host of your own podcast, Real
Yes,
Talk with Grace.
yes, yes, yes.
So let's talk, we are in, like, I really feel like the most uncertain times, certainly in my own personal history. And I think that most people would agree that we live in a level of uncertainty that none of us have really experienced before. Even during the pandemic, it feels like there's just so much more shifting that's going on in the world, and a whole lot of suffering, a whole lot of lack, a whole lot of scarcity that's going on. And so I want to talk a little bit about, how do you get abundance from a point of like surrender? Can we talk about that? How does like surrendering to like the what so or the what is actually call in abundance? Because that seems so counterintuitive.
It does. And, when I used to hear the word surrender, I would have this image of, the wrestler in the ring that's, put in a headlock by his opponent. And then, they're tapping out and it's the end. And what I've learned that's not what surrender is at all. What I've learned and what's helped me is realize is surrender is just letting go and accepting what is in the moment and being open to more and better. And so letting go doesn't mean we settle. I think we have an idea around surrender that, okay, I'm going to surrender to the situation I'm in, even though it's not working for me. And that means I'm settling.
Yes, I
And
used to think that's what surrender was
right.
as well, but it's
It,
not. Mhm.
it's not. And it really what surrender is, okay, letting go. And for me, it's letting go and trusting God, trusting the universe, whatever word feels comfortable to you. I'll go between God and your universe in this podcast. It's just letting go and trusting, because in life, we're going to have ebbs and flows,
Mhm.
inevitable. And when we hang on so tight to a vision of what we want in the moment, that what isn't, if that makes sense, we're in a place of resistance and we close out possibilities to come to us. So surrendering is just kind of opening your heart and accepting where you are in the moment, but being conscious and open to better. You're not settling, you're just accepting.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that was where I went off the rails when I was first like practicing surrender. And I say practicing surrender because life was just a total nightmare at the time,
Yeah.
so God let me quote unquote practice surrender. And where I would get stuck in that is that I forgot that this is a temporary condition. So
Yes.
I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to surrender the crap show that is my life, or the dissatisfaction. I mean, life doesn't have to be a dumpster fire for you to have to surrender, like anything that you're feeling discontented with. But I had forgotten, like, me surrendering was not me then saying life was never going to change, but that's what I was thinking in
Yes.
my own heart and in my own mind. Nothing's going to change, so I might as well just surrender to what is. And that's not what surrendering is. But if you can remember, like what you said, to your point, just open up your heart and just know that, like, it'll help you connect to possibilities. And we're
Yeah.
trying to like calm the heck down. Right?
It's easier said than done when we're activated and we're in our,
Truth.
we're in our
Mhm.
false stories we tell ourselves. And that's a reality. When we get activated, we feel it in our body. And I loved, several of your episodes where you talk about just go straight into the gratitude. And you can't be in the lack and the gratitude at the same time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's helped me tremendously.
Yeah, yeah. Not if you're truly feeling gratitude. Like I have made gratitude lists weeping in despair. I have done
Yeah,
that. That was
I
not
have
me going to
to.
gratitude, guys. And that was
I
with
have
the
to. Well, so that brings us to, we have to feel it in the emotion and kind of
yeah.
feel into it. But I get it. Like when we're in that place of lack and where it's activated in our body, it can, be gentle because it could take a moment for us to step into that feeling of abundance because it's always available to us.
Yeah, even now. Like even now when people throw out the R word,
Yeah.
recession and everything's going down and it's going to be this way for years and it's like and like okay, like we do have that choice, but abundance is always there. So let's talk about this for just a second because I really appreciate you said be gentle because I think we're taught to force. We're like, no, I can't feel this way. I can't feel this way. I got to feel this other way. So we use all of these tools that we end up just actually weaponizing against ourselves because then we're like, and I can't even do this right. And this, I'm just speaking into my own experience, weaponizing tools against myself. But I really love that. Like, just take a breath and be gentle. And Grace, I would love if you would share with us one way that you raise your vibration when you're in those lower vibrations. You find yourself slipping back into lack and back or worry or anxiety or any of those lower vibrations. What do you do?
So something that really works for me is I exercise. I move my body. That's like it's so funny. I tell this story all the time. There was a moment where I was in that lack. I was, my body was activated. I was just not feeling it. Like it was heavy. And I remember I walked into the YMCA and Paulette looked at me. She goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was not fine. However, once I got into, whatever class I was doing, an hour later when I walked out, I felt so much better. My situation hadn't changed. It's just I shifted the energy within my body, and that helped me go through the day, to do what I needed to do, for that day. So for me, I exercise.
Oh, I think that is beautiful. I love exercise so much. When you were talking about that, I remember this was years and years and years ago. And was when kickboxing was really popular.
That's a class I did in Howard. Yeah.
Gosh, okay, it's awesome. So this is back in the VHS days. Okay. So those of you who don't know what a VHS videotape is,
Yep.
Google it and then you'll know.
Yes.
But I had one of those at home, a kickboxing one, and I had gotten in an argument with my sister. So I was so mad. Like you want to talk activated, and that anger is actually a lower vibration. I was in a suffering place, and I just pretended that my sister was right there as I was. As I was punching and
sister.
kicking. And I felt so much better by the end. Nothing changed with her, except I felt more kindness actually towards her after that. I can't even remember what the argument was about. It was stupid. But I was mad, and man, exercise helped a ton. What if you're in a place like, let's say you're just in the car. Sometimes I'll just be stuck in the car and ruminating in like worry or lack or like the what if this never changes, when we go off the cliff. Do you have any tips for how to raise your vibration if you can't get out and exercise?
I do. And I've actually been using this the past week, and there's something called Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian healing prayer, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's so simple and easy. Initially I was like, okay, this is like ridiculous. Like this really can't work. Like, so it's 4 words. So I've been using this when I can't get out, like if I'm in the car or it's like, 10 o'clock at night and, I can't, just kind of get that aggression out. The 4 words, I think of the situation I'm struggling with. And I just repeat the 4 words. Thank you. I love you. I forgive you. I'm sorry. And I repeat those over and over. And then it just helps me relax. And I swear it changes again, it changes your state and how you feel. And I've seen just a glimpse of hope come to whatever situation I was struggling in.
I love that technique. I've used that Ho'oponopono as well. How long did you notice how long it took for you to like feel that shift?
I mean, sometimes it takes, a couple minutes.
Mhm.
Sometimes it could take longer, sometimes I'm there for 20 minutes. So it just depends on, how activated you are.
Mhm.
But I highly recommend. I mean, I actually talk about that in my book. There was a moment where I was really struggling and I was going off the deep end, and I just sat on my bed and I recited the prayer, and I actually combined tapping with the prayer, and just it felt like just a monumental shift occurred.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. Like if you would have told me these things a few years ago, I would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. You're nuts.
Okay, whatever. And yet here you are writing and publishing a best-selling book on this very thing. And you know what? I want to hear a little bit about your book. So will
Thank
you tell us just a little bit about what it's all about?
Sure, sure. So my book is about the different concepts that I used to help myself heal and break generational cycles. And it's funny because I started therapy when I was 19, and a few years ago, my therapist retired and she reached out to me and she was pretty transparent. She said, when I met you when you were 19, I felt that there was no more hope for you, that you were going to go down, these same, abusive routes that you had, seen in the environment growing up. And she said, I'm so sorry. I said, don't be sorry. Like, I'm not offended. This speaks volumes to what we can create and how we can change our lives. And so in the book, that's what I talk about, the concepts that I've used and I continue to use because, life, just because you get to a place where you're doing great and you're successful and it's fabulous, life still happens. So these are concepts that I live by that help me, over the last, gosh, I was 19 years old. So I'm 52 now. So over the last, I can't count, 30 something years to get to where I'm at. So it's about the concepts of just, and you don't have to read the book all the way through. You could pick chapters. So it's the
Mm.
concepts I use to get to where I am today.
Wow. Wow. And do you know what? Like, tell me, like, how does somebody like you, who you said, a couple of years ago, if somebody said, oh, do Ho'oponopono ono ono and, deep breathing or whatever, you would have been like, whatever. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey from where to, and here you are now, a success and transformation coach as well. You've run a staffing firm, a very successful staffing firm. So we know you've got like mojo and all of those things. So share a little bit about your journey that brought you to where you are now.
Sure, sure. So when, I've been studying success since I was 15. I started, listening to Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar. And I mean, there's so many incredible motivational speakers that I listened to as I was growing up. And so what I learned from them was like the 10X, like the grind and the hustle. And you just, put your nose down and it's all about the work. And I did that for decades until it no longer worked. I burnt out. And I I guess I surrendered without realizing I was surrendering. I was like, I give up. Like, I don't know what else to do. This is exhausting. Like, I've lost my passion. And a friend invited me to go to a conference in Arizona. And at that conference in the evening, they kind of had conference for more of the spiritual side of things. And so that was something that was new to me. I've always believed in God and I trust God, but I never really dug into that spiritual side. So I went to that evening conference, and that conference helped open me up to all these different principles of how we can create. So I had been creating from the hustle and the grind, from the masculine energy, which there's nothing wrong with it. And here they were talking about creating from feminine, from, from the laws of attraction. And so that's what opened up my mind to, okay, there's different ways to create. And so once I started experiencing, practicing those ways, even though I was like resistant to them, I started practicing the different concepts. And once I started to see the results, I said, okay, there's something here. And so I've learned how to combine the practical and the spiritual to create, because we need to take action too.
Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. You alluded to something just a few minutes ago about the therapist you had when you were 19. And
Yes.
she said, I really didn't have any hope for you based on what you had gone through. And you mentioned Ho'oponopono Ono, which is actually a really powerful forgiveness technique as well. So it makes me suspect that you've got a lot of practice in forgiveness. And I don't know a lot of your background, but I would imagine that it has required a ton of forgiveness in order to help you heal. So I want to talk about that for just a minute. Why is self-forgiveness key to creating your prosperous life?
I mean, forgiveness is so key, because when we are in a place where we are beating ourselves up, where, we're talking down to ourselves, that just puts us, as you know, into the lower vibration emotions, and it keeps us stuck and it keeps us heavy. And so when we are able to and allow ourselves to not only forgive ourselves, but start to love ourselves, that energy starts to change, because everything's energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in a place of, not forgiving ourselves, I'll just talk about ourselves. When we're in a place of not forgiving ourselves, we're closing ourselves off to the abundance that can come, to the possibilities, to the solutions. It's like we're in a river, we're trying to go down the river, but the river has just mud and guck. Like, how are we going to float down the river if there's just so much density and guck stopping us from flowing down? So when we're in that place of self-loathing, it's a very heavy.
Yeah.
And how are we going to receive if we're just have everything so closed off? So self-forgiveness opens yourself up to the self-love, and then it's just kind of like it just starts unraveling. I feel like that rubber band ball, like once you take one rubber band off, well, now I'm dating myself, because that rubber band ball, I don't think they do that anymore. And it once you start unraveling, it just one thing after another, then you begin to open yourself up. And I know I keep talking about the possibilities, but that's what we open ourselves up to possibilities. Once we heal, the possibilities and opportunities that are available to us are limitless. Like you talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In your experience, did you find that it was harder to forgive yourself than perhaps others who had hurt you along the way?
I found it harder to forgive others who hurt me along the way. However, I believe that there's a loop in that. Once I forgive myself, then it's easier to forgive them. Once I forgave them, it was easier to forgive myself.
Oh, so there's that interconnectedness, because I think that in any situation, we tend to blame ourselves, whether it's warranted or not, when there's any sort of hurt that happens.
Yes.
And I think, at least for myself, I think, well, why didn't I know better? Or how could I have been so naive or so stupid? Or, and those things are indicators of self-blame and lead to like that self-loathing and things. But I really love your perspective of, as you forgive them, you forgive you, as you forgive you, you forgive them. And understanding it's all about us anyway. That forgiveness piece really is to free us. It's not to absolve them. It's to free us.
It's all about us. It's all within us. And I've learned that, the experiences that we face, as challenging as they may be, they're there to teach us a lesson. And I know sometimes that gets so old, but that's the truth. It's there to teach us a lesson. And if we haven't learned the lesson, then we're going to keep getting the same challenge in different ways. And there can be different layers. I've come all this way, and I'm, currently facing a challenge, and I've done all this healing work, but this is a different layer. I feel like each time we're going to level up or go into a higher vibration of our potential, we're going to face similar challenges. And then we get the choice of how we want to deal with those challenges.
I agree. And I think that's a really beautiful way to look at that, because we do release in layers and in levels. And sometimes when in a challenge, it feels so familiar because this is a deeper layer of the same issue. And then we're like, I thought that I was done with this. And I'm like, I don't think we're ever truly done with
I mean,
it.
come talk to me when I'm 99, right? Then I can have a
All
better
right.
view. But what I'm experiencing at the point of my life where I'm at now, and I talk about the purple onion in my book because I like purple, and purple onion is sweet, is like you said, we're there definitely are some things that we pull the root out of and we've healed it. Okay. And that goes away. But there are triggers that are related to, or stories that are related to our identity, wounds that are related to our identity that I feel may not ever go away. They're going to come back up. And then we have a new opportunity to heal deeper and deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with us. I think
No.
that that's part of just us in our evolving and
Yes.
in our expansion. I love how you said, I don't want to learn another lesson. Like, well, that's not exactly what I said, but like another lesson, it gets so
Right.
old. And yet one thing that helped me with that is understanding that this is actually necessary for me to feel more joy. Like this challenge is actually required for me to navigate through to get me to where I want to go. This
Yes.
is going to get me to where I want to go. And that actually helped me with surrendering,
Yes.
with accepting the what is or the what so of the situation, and also to help me to embrace it. And then we can use the different laws and we can tap into our femininity, which is possibility, which you were talking into, and just see how everything really does conspire to help us. The universe and God are like, they're set up to support us in every microsecond of our existence.
Absolutely. Even in the most challenging situations, it's to get us to the other side. And I've learned like the greater the challenge, the greater the joy on the other side.
And I think too, that you can learn joy through it. And, and that like, that helped me instead of like, oh my gosh, endure to the end. I got so tired of hearing endure to the end. No. But I was like, well, if I can find joy through it, instead of like, just, get through the muck to the joy on the other side, there's going to be more joy on the other side. But if I can pick up joy as I go, and then add it to the joy that's already waiting for me, holy cow, then nothing's in vain. Then nothing is, pointless.
And I have a story to tell if you're okay with it. Back in July, I was diagnosed with, there was a cancerous growth on my thyroid and I had to have a thyroidectomy. And so as I was going through this experience, I did just that. As I was facing the challenge, I infused that challenging time with joy. And I learned that, okay, like, yes, I'm going through this challenge and I can thrive and find joy and be in the light while I'm navigating this. So I don't have to stay in the mud, like you said, dredge through it to get to the other side. I've learned that we could do both. I can be in the mud and see the light and feel the joy at the same time. So that was a huge lesson for me. Like while we're navigating our challenges, we can absolutely find those moments of joy, continue to thrive, and still move ourselves, feel what we need to feel, and move ourselves into higher vibration. And that was a huge lesson for me. So thank you for bringing that up.
That is so beautiful. And thank you. And I take it good news and healing is complete and all of that. Oh,
yes. Thank goodness. What an incredible lesson. I mean, there's still things to learn and there's still more healing, but the greatest gift I was given was we can absolutely thrive and see the light through even the darkest times.
And I think, the stars, we only see the stars at night. We only see the stars when it's dark enough. And so if you're looking for them, if you look up, that's where you see them.
That's right. That's so beautiful, Allyson. Yes.
Oh, Grace, this has been so much fun. Holy cow. I'm so inspired by you and love this so much.
And about you.
This is a love fest going on here. And I know people are going to want more of you. So where can they find you? I know you have a really fun goodie for them. So tell us how they can find you, how they connect, how to find your book, all the things.
Wonderful. So you can find me at www.daretoachieve.com. And on Facebook, you could just find me at Grace Redman. You could also find my book, I'm thankful to the universe and the laws that it's just been such a success. And it's Can I Live? Dare to go from effed up to fabulous. So you can find that on Amazon. And I'm I took a hiatus from the coaching practice, but I will be opening spots in the new year. So definitely feel free to reach out to me if you're interested to connect.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. And did you have a free hypnosis audio?
Yes, I do. So for your audience, there's a free forgiveness hypnosis audio that they can download. And that's helped me tremendously. Actually, I had a girlfriend. She's like, I really need to forgive. Can you create the audio hypnosis for me? And so thank you for Senya for inspiring me to create that. It's been wonderful. So that's a free gift for your
Oh
audience.
my gosh. Thank you so much. Hypnosis is a really powerful tool. I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it. So thank you. And that link is in the show notes. All the links to everything there are in the show notes. So you can go connect with her, start following her, listen to her podcast, Real Talk with Grace Redman.
Yes.
And you want this woman in your life? Isn't she just peaceful and amazing and just so inspirational? So Grace, thank you so much for being here. Those of you tuning in, thank you again so much. We love you. And remember, prosperity becomes you. Bye-bye.